expecting to see the pizza.
It's on its way. Alright, go ahead and call the meeting to order here. We're running a little bit behind already. It is now 7:32 for our October 2nd meeting of the Graduate and Professional Student Council. If you did not get one on your way in, there is a copy of the printed agenda, which is 2 pages tonight, front and back, as well as a printed copy of the resolution, which we have a second reading of later in the meeting under old business. At the top of the meeting today, though, I was going to preface our meeting a little bit with first a question in the sense of if there are any new members that are coming for the first time tonight.
Yes, I am.
Yes, hey, how's it going? A couple? Cool. Zoology?
Yes.
Ah, fantastic. For anybody that's here for the first time tonight, welcome you. There were some of you that were here the first time 2 weeks ago on September the 18th. And so we, in executive, talked about trying to slow things down a little bit with the beginning of the meeting today to try and spend some time talking about GPSC a little bit, since last meeting was a little bit procedural. We only just got the email out to everyone for the meeting this evening, as you will see, and I'll briefly discuss about our agenda tonight in a second. The meeting tonight is a little crazy, a little heavy on procedural requirements, and so we had a difficult time getting our agenda out, as well as making sure everything was covered and producing the materials for this meeting. So all of that said, I finally got the email out with a lot of those materials attached to the email itself. We were able to receive that email in literally the last 15 minutes. There is a piece on there for council agenda, and then it's B. You have the few documents that if you've been here in a meeting prior, you may have already received in the sense of an overview of the organization, Graduate and Professional Student Council, and some of the documents for our programs. So in general, we had a couple new tonight, and maybe a couple of you that were new at the last meeting didn't really get that introduction. Graduate and Professional Student Council is a formal constituency body of graduate and professional students on campus. We engage in the governance of the university in a number of different ways, as well as we provide direct support through a student activity fee that we redistribute to students through a number of programs, primarily through the 3 that are listed there on that second page of the overview to graduate and professional students. And we also try to work as a part of our council, as well as a part of a constituency as a whole, to advocate and support graduate and professional students in their studies here while they are here in any number of different ways. I wish I was doing a better job at going over Graduate and Professional Student Council in general right now, but that is about all I have. And with the time I'm trying to hold myself to for this evening, I'll go on to order of business before going to some questions for this section, perhaps trying to have someone else give a better explanation. So order of business this evening, we have a couple of procedural things, first of which is under item E for our election commission having to provide some insight into a couple of different issues. One, a special election for a vice president officer position, that of the Graduate School Affairs, and appeals that were filed on that election, as well as then a notice of a resignation for a representative in Graduate Council, which then procedurally requires that we run a special election in this meeting itself. And so our meeting agenda reflects a little bit of this procedural craziness. I am cutting as short as possible these university committee reports that I have, and you should have hopefully received those in an email or have that email waiting for you with the attachment for Agenda E. For those committee reports submitted as written, and we'll try to breeze through those. I've also mostly cut any kind of report that I have from the President's office entirely from the agenda so that we have some time for this election that we need to hold at the end, as well as providing enough time so that we can go over some of the finances of the organization as we try to keep things moving as far as the redistribution of those student activity fees, being that we're already in October. So keeping with the time here. I gave three minutes for some questions. And so I will shut up and allow for any questions from the floor, really on anything GPSC in general, the order of the business this evening, as well as then if there are no questions, if someone wants to take a stab at helping everyone understand GPSC, maybe a way it was significant for you in the past, something like that, to help anybody that's new here understand what we're about. Yes?
I can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Have at it, Derek.
Well, Derek, I'm one of the law school representatives for GPSC. I've been here 2 years, and I've seen a lot of good things happen with this council. We've helped enact policy change on the university-wide level multiple times. We've held administrators accountable whenever we thought some things weren't clear or some things were shady, and that happens in academia sometimes, or maybe more at the administrative level. And we've helped a lot of RSOs and students get event funding and travel funding to go to conferences that really help develop their professional career, helps them network, and get their work out there. And I think that's just a very important thing. This is a support system for the graduate students, and that's what we're here for. Derek.
Thank you, Derek. Any questions? Any more comments? Any concerns? Oh, I'll use the opportunity. I got a minute or so left. Food is on the way, if that didn't spread through everyone. Food is on the way. There's a meeting before this meeting that got in the way of getting the order in, and so Diana is out. Diana is the Vice President of Administrative Affairs, for anyone that's new tonight who's not here. She's on her way back with some food. I believe it's going to be pizza again. So we'll have that for you this evening as we keep you probably past 9. I tried my best to keep it as close to 9 as possible, but it was pretty difficult. So no questions, no comments. No, yeah, Brianna.
Hello, everybody. For those, I was just introducing myself. Our new friends. For those who don't know me, my name is Brian Lockett. I'm the student trustee for the campus. And one event, we had our first event from my office about myself. It's a campus conversation series. And the first meeting was today at 4. It was at 4. It was from 4 to 5. So every other 2. So the same days we have these meetings from 4 to 5. I'm having, it's in activity room B on the 3rd floor. And what it is just like, we hear this whole, the phrase, our voices aren't being heard as students on this campus a lot. My thing is, I've been here for 9 years. I'm like, I'm sick of it. It's bullshit, right? Oops, I swear. Sorry, over it. So I've given us, I provided a space to where there's administration there, members of the administration there, there's students there to just get your voice heard, and then with those people in the room. Like I know today there was a small turnout, but we didn't get the, I didn't get the flyers out earlier. I think I finished them on Friday. Today's Tuesday. So the next one will be October 16th from 4 to 5. But like as a breakdown of who was in the room today, we had Clay from GPSC. We had one undergraduate student. We had the president of the Black Graduate Student Association. We had the interim provost, Kamaraju, in the room. And we had 2 board members. So people, by having that event, we kind of forced administration to be in the room and listen to us. So the thing is to keep it growing and keep more and get more of a turnout. So feel free to come out, and I'll get that flyer out to everybody. I'll share with GPSC so they can share with you all. Just let's get our voices heard. Thank you.
And I did attach actually. Brian is our student trustee, if that was not clear. So he actually sits on the board of trustees that governs all of the Southern Illinois University system, including the Carbondale campus, Carbondale University here. Tries to attend our meetings regularly.
I tried. I was in Mexico last week, or was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, and so So the flyer that he's mentioning is actually attached to the email that just went out before the meeting. We try to have a presentation screen, which we don't have tonight because I need this for all of the different procedural documents that we have tonight. So we don't have the presentation screen, but that is attached to the email itself. If you have any more questions with that, we can handle it perhaps later in the go to the order part of our meeting. So as a part of the overview of GPSC, I did include a presentation we had last week on Robert's Rules, the procedures we use to navigate through these meetings. And so moving on to agenda item C, a little bit behind time here, I will ask, is there a motion to adopt the agenda? Motion seconded. Motion seconded. Any in opposition? All right, motion passes. Item D, so postpone the reading and approval of minutes. Do I have a motion? So motion, do I hear a second? Any in opposition to approving the postponement of reading and approval of minutes? Hearing no opposition, motion passes. All right, so reports from the Election Commission. You should have received in this email, if you haven't had the chance to look at it yet, I apologize for the delay in getting it out. This one would be named Council 2018-10-02_agenda_E for item E on our agenda this evening. These are some reports, some memos, whatever, from the Election Commission. Our Election Commission is the governance body that takes care of our elections within Graduate and Professional Student Council. We have a vacancy for one of our other officer positions. It is the Vice President for Graduate School Affairs from a resignation that occurred in May. We have been trying to fill that. We attempted to fill that with an election that was held in our previous meeting on September 18th. That election outcome received, I don't know that it's stipulated, but it has been communicated with the executive board, the specific number of appeals. And so that's not necessarily unknown information. But it is, we received 6 appeals actually for the outcome of that election. And we have a memo of the opinion from the Election Commission and the review of those appeals. So if you consult that first document, the memorandum for the opinion, the appeals of the special election of Vice President of Graduate School Affairs for this academic year, basically summarizing that the Commission had delivered its decision on the validity of that special election held during the second meeting on September 18th for the vacant Vice President for Graduate School Affairs. The Election Commission found in favor of the appeals, invalidating the results of the voting, identifying an error in the instruction from the Commissioner as to the rules governing voter eligibility requirements, and have called for the scheduling of the special election during the October 16th, 2018 regular scheduled meeting, providing for the third of the 3 meetings immediately prior to the election for attendance relevant to voter eligibility with the October 2nd scheduled meeting, that being tonight, the previous 2 meetings, September 4th and September 18th, constituting the first and second. So in light of this decision, I was communicating this decision and determination to our scheduled meeting, as well as the 3 candidates that were established for that office, and obviously now informing you all. The second page of that memorandum, you have attached the specific opinion distributed from the Election Commission. The Election Commissioner is myself, Diana, who is currently not here, being on that commission, and then Derek McDowell as well. Essentially, the opinion that we have hinged on Article 3, Section 5.2 of the Graduate and Professional Student Bylaws, the issue being that elections are held at regularly scheduled meetings and members are eligible to vote upon attending at least one of the 3 meetings immediately prior to the election. So the conclusion ultimately there being that 1, the results of the September 18th special election are rendered null and void, being that individuals are not provided 1 attendance in the 3 previous meetings. Basically, the instruction prior to that was the idea that you had attended essentially all 3 of the meetings, the one on September 4th and both that occurred on September 18th, and that instruction was in error. I believe I've covered just about all of that. insofar that you have those reports, that memo with the opinion attached, do you have any questions on that and where we are? Yes?
So we're just going to redo it?
Yes.
Okay.
Specifically with the third meeting establishing the opportunity for 3 meetings prior to the election being tonight.
Okay.
So if you attended one of the meetings tonight, or the first meeting on September 18th, or the meeting on September 4th, that will establish for one that is a eligible member to vote in the election October 16th. I believe I got that right.
Are we going to renominate or same candidates?
We have space. We don't need to renominate, but we cannot deny the opportunity for a nomination prior to the actual election meeting.
Did we do speeches again?
Yes. We will have to hold an election according to the bylaws as they are outlined, which would provide, again, for the time for making speeches. Any additional questions? All right. Well, then moving to the second item under this agenda item is a notice of vacancy. You have another memorandum dated today as a part of that agenda item E attachment. Notice of vacancy for graduate council representative seat and a special election called for this evening's meeting. So I ask you please be advised, Amelia Russo has tendered notice of her resignation as a GPSC representative to graduate council. This notice of resignation is effective immediately. GPSC's Executive Board and Election Commission were notified of this resignation October 1st, 2018. The Election Commission has advised this initiates Article 3, Section 3.7, vacancies of office of the GPSC bylaws stated therein, 7.1, in the event that any elected representative or officer resigns or is otherwise unable to complete the designated term of office, the GPSC Executive Board must declare the position vacant as soon as vacancy is known. 7.2, the GPSC Executive Board must call for a special election to be held at the next GPSC meeting. All GPSC representatives, including properly designated proxies in attendance at the meeting, will be allowed to vote in the special election. Provided these rules and guidance from the Election Commission, GPSC will hold a special election for the vacancy in our meeting Tuesday, October 2nd, 2018, this evening. Before I keep moving with that, do you have any questions? All right, I will take the opportunity to briefly state that while it's weird to say disappointment, but I believe how I expressed before was some sorrow for Amelia not continuing on as a representative for Graduate and Professional Student Council in Graduate Council. I know that she would have done an excellent job. Ultimately, the resignation is for the pursuit of her own academic career and some other extracurricular activities that she is taking on. And so there was the concern on her part and how well of a job she would be doing, which I know she still would have been able to do an excellent job, but still nonetheless didn't want to fall short of even her own excellent expectations of what she can do. And so graciously stepping down and providing for the opportunity of someone else among us to take over that position. And realistically, I just want to express my gratitude and thanks for what Amelia did for GPSC, and I hope that that is a shared sentiment. So, being required that we have a special election for the vacancy in Graduate Council, oh goodness, I have to read rules and position obligations for that. I'm sorry, I just had a moment where I'm like incredibly surprised that I'm still on time. That's excellent. Like, I thought I was at least 10 minutes behind, but somehow I'm actually on schedule. Okay, so some general things. Candidate qualifications. Candidates for the positions of President, Vice President of Administrative Affairs, Vice President for Graduate School Affairs, and Graduate Council Representatives must be graduate and professional students enrolled and in good standing at SIUC for the term during which elections are conducted. These candidates need not be voting members of the GPSC during their candidacy. Nomination procedures. Candidates who wish to have their names appear on the printed ballot must be nominated at either of the 2 regularly scheduled GPSC meetings preceding the election. And so far that, we have to fill a vacancy in the meeting immediately following notice of that vacancy. Suffice it to say that nominations are conducted in the course of this meeting, and only this meeting, and so far that the election will take place today. Nominations must be moved and seconded by voting members of GPSC. Nominees must be provided the opportunity to decline the nomination prior to balloting. Conduct of campaign during an election meeting. Candidates for the position of Vice President, Vice Presidents, and Graduate Council Representatives must have the opportunity to make speeches, answer questions, etc. prior to the voting. Candidates may use no more than the time shown below. For Graduate Council Representatives, that being 2 minutes. The allotted time may be used for speeches, testimonials, questions from the floor, or other similar activities. Such activities will be conducted in the same order that nominations are made for each position. Other campaign activities are not prohibited so long as these activities remain within the bounds of university policy and pertinent governmental rules and regulations. That's, I guess, needs to be in compliance with constitutional law. All right, enough said. Conduct of elections is a little wonky since this is a special election to replace a vacancy once known. Voter eligibility. Elections must be held at a regularly scheduled meeting, and members eligible to vote is actually established by our vacancy clause. I already read the vacancy, and here, where is it? I'm trying to find one last section that I apparently didn't mark. Here we go. And so, if you're curious as to what Graduate Council is, GPSC Graduate Council representatives are charged with serving as liaisons between GPSC, I'm so glad that's on recording, and the Graduate Council. The representatives shall present GPSC with resolutions, bills, and opinions as necessary to protect the interests of graduate students as needed, independent of the Vice President of Graduate School Affairs, who is vacant right now. I believe I've covered all of the relevant sections that we have for election rules and position obligations. Almost on time. At this time, I'll open the floor for nominations of those candidates for a Graduate Council representative, as well as any inquiries as to something that I may have not covered or you still have questions about. Yes?
I move to nominate Emily.
All right. I'm going to try to find a piece of paper. All right. Also, a number of you I know had been nominated or were up for candidacy for the graduate council representative alternate that would have potentially been required or might still be required by a pending election for a vice president of graduate school affairs. So if that was a position you are interested in or still interested in, this is obviously an additional opportunity for you to be nominated to serve on graduate council.
Point of clarification.
Yes.
The first meeting is Thursday, and they're
Yes,
the first
thanks.
Thursday of every month, 8 a.m. They usually run till 10:30.
Yeah. It seems. I had a very long 24 hours. It's not been enjoyable.
Looking good up there. Keep it up.
Yeah, it's weird. The Constitution doesn't outline any of that stuff, but technically all I'm obligated to do is that. I believe at one moment in the day I had that run through my mind. But yeah, graduate council meets on Thursdays. As a representative, you'll have to be there once a month, first Thursday of every month.
First Thursday every month.
First Thursday of every month at 8 a.m. They meet in the Student Services Building. Graduate Council itself is a faculty governance body for graduate programs, the graduate school, and research aspect of the university. The Graduate Council is made up of graduate faculty from all over the university, representation being allotted according to enrollments across colleges. Faculty get elected to that body. They basically deliberate on any number of affairs related to the governance and trajectory of graduate programs on campus, as well as legislating the graduate catalog that governs all of our graduate programs, their degree requirements, the grievance process, any number of things.
Clay,
Yes.
sorry, I have to nominate Jessica Taylor for that position.
So moved. Is it seconded?
Second.
Do you accept? All right.
Sorry, I missed the memo there.
We got your back.
Where are we at on time? I'm looking at this and I have a clock right in front of me. It has seriously been a very long 24 hours. Diana is still not here. I'm running into parts of the agenda that she would need to be here for. Alright, hearing no more nominations at this time, I'd like to call for nominations, move on to the next agenda item. Well, officer reports. So, perfect timing. Diana is now arriving. Fantastic. So, officer reports. I don't have an elaborate report for you because of time constraints tonight. I will say I recently met with Interim Provost Komaraju, and we had a discussion in general about what GPSC is, what it does for students, different programs that we're running. In particular, we focused a little bit on trying to find a way for GPSC to collaborate and facilitate graduate students participating with faculty during the Da Vinci days on presenting ongoing research. In general, that's something that I'm butting up against a lot, whether that's from the Office of Vice Chancellor for Research, the Provost Office, or the Graduate School, as well as those amongst Graduate and Professional Student Council, is collaborative presentations on ongoing research, stimulating essentially the promotion and engagement with the research work that we're doing. I also had a conversation with the Alumni Association, as I provided before. I have an application with the Alumni Association on our behalf to receive some scholarship funds to subsidize our budget this year, specifically our Career Development Reimbursement Award that supports graduate and professional student travel to professional conferences. They do, then I have official confirmation they have our application, and they were asking questions as to the amount that we requested and how it would be used, and to what degree we required that full amount of requested money, which was $15,000, or if some lesser amount might also be useful. I also submitted a progress report to the Alumni Association. I attached a presentation that I did a webinar on mentorship with my professional association, American Sociological Society. I included that PDF that was supplied from the presentation itself. Mentorship has been something that this council has taken a great interest in, and thought that that might be of some use. So that is in the email as well. You can take a look at that. Let's see. Do I have anything else? Realistically, I left these times long. Realistically, the last piece I had for my agenda item was that originally I was planning on doing a presentation for our strategic plan this evening for this academic year. I've pushed that to the October 16th meeting to provide enough time for the election, as well as everything else that we needed to go over. And so we'll do that in 2 weeks. Are you good?
I'm good. I'm good.
On that note, I will hand it over unless there are any questions as to anything that's going on in my office.
As I hand it over, please stand up. Please get some pizza. I apologize. In the midst of my fee allocation board meeting, I was like, oh no, I forgot the pizza. And at that point, it was just too late to call Domino's. So I did a quick run. And there's also some sodas. I'm just going to close the door back here. While I'm taking care of tasks, if you have come in but not signed in, make sure you do that, especially as we address your ability to vote. So since this is a general body meeting, you would make sure that you are on this roster list. So take your time, get some pizza. There is no time. Damn, that's a good time. And it is hot. Emphasis on hot and ready. Great. As you are getting that pizza, cooling down with a nice, refreshing beverage, I was just going to talk about our projected budget this year. I met with our fee allocation board, and we reviewed our numbers and have some determinations that aren't fixed because we are hoping that, as Clay had mentioned, that we do get some funding from outside of GPSC, from the Alumni Association, from other opportunities of fundraising. But as of now, the predicted budget and projected budget that was provided to us for the fiscal year was $64,000. So this is very different than past years. And so let me go ahead and get comparative here. So looking at last year, some things that will be changing is we had a very generous president last year, Jonathan Flowers, who also had a 25% assistantship outside of GPSC. So he was kind enough to give us half of his paycheck that went back into travel funding. So what typically is the salary of $29,000, he had given nearly $10,000 back to GPSC. So that is not happening this year. So you will notice that our travel funding right now, last year we had a total amount of $19,967 spent towards travel funding. And that number might seem off because some of that goes for taxes. So that number will be cut down to begin the academic year at $10,000. So if you need to go to a conference, I'd go ahead and get those applications in while you can, since we do have nearly half, or pretty much half of that is now reduced. So think about that, especially as you go back to your colleagues. But the thing with that is we are hoping that that is matched by the Alumni Association, and that we hopefully will get 10,000 more to meet those numbers that we had last year. Also differences in numbers is that our event funding, because with that $64,000, we are hoping to have a reserve. The way that the money's released now in comparison to our past years as GPSC, in the past we were provided one lump sum budget at the beginning of the fiscal year, and that's how we worked through our academic year. Now we are released funds at the beginning of every semester based on the 10-day count. So we've had our funds released for fall, but you never can truly predict or put a fine number on that as numbers fluctuate of the student body. So event funding last year, a total of $16,195 was spent on event funding. This year we start off with $6,600, so $10,000 less than we had last year. So if you have an event that you're hoping to, if you have an event, make sure you get in that application as well. We have a reserve fund because of that fluctuation of $6,400. So that money might be moved around towards the spring once we have our final counts and are a little bit more secure about our overall true budget of the academic year. So, and then also with our research awards, in the past few years, what we've had is we've had a deficit. So the budget from last year went to go pay the year before and the year before. Because that happens at the end of the year, and lately GPSC has ran out of money at the end of the year. And so now what we're doing is we're allocating $7,000 towards that, $5,000 to pay back the awards from last year out of this fiscal year's budget, and starting with the awards at $2,000, hoping to raise funds throughout the year so we can so that would be dedicated towards that. That gives us a whole academic year to raise money going into the spring. So definitely some very major cuts. I'm sorry, we determined these numbers right before this meeting. I will send an updated sheet to you and get that to you via email, since some of these things were determined before the meeting by the FAB committee. So, any questions on that? So, other things that we're fortunate of is that in the past, now that we share rooms with USG, they've been gracious enough to split some of that cost with us. So things that would have cost us $10,000 in the past, and that's employing students to work within our offices, our office supplies, and things like that, they are now splitting with us $75-25. So where we would have spent or had budgeted in the past $10,000, now we're going to only be spending $1,000. So that has helped in some areas, but we definitely have a lot of ground to make up as we look at other opportunities outside of GPSC. So that's just where it stands now. Any questions? So pretty much the big numbers to think about are, especially for those who are graduate students and our professional students who are going to be traveling for conferences. Remember, our starting budget for traveling is $10,000. Last year we met almost $20,000, so get those forms in. If you have an event or if your RSO or department is hosting something, make sure you also get that in to us early so that we can review that and take that into consideration. Any questions? All right. I always feel like that meme from Bridesmaids, like "Help me, I'm poor." No, you don't know that meme? That's pretty much my report. Help me, I'm poor.
All right, and with no officer in the Vice President for Graduate School Affairs position, we'll forego an officer report for that vacancy. Moving on to the next agenda item, Agenda E, committee reports. So I have included in that email that hopefully some of you have been able to take a look at or will look at in the future. A number of reports from university committees as written. I attended a committee meeting for Final Exam Committee, the Honorary Degree and Distinguished Service Award Committee, Diversity Council, Chancellor's Planning and Budget Advisory Committee, and Campus-Wide Assessment Committee. And I have provided attached reports from those meetings in the email. Submit those as written. If there are any questions or concerns, provide the opportunity now to voice them. Very well, moving on. Report from the Select Committee for Graduate and Professional Student Survey. Oh, actually, I didn't get that email part out. In lieu of it not being written, we're working on getting those results out. We have about a 2-week timeline for, I think, the final draft versions of the 3 university-wide reports. The biggest thing that we keep running into is fidelity issues with the data file itself. We've identified a number of things that were problematic about how the data was actually set up, with some mislabeling of variables or the wrong data being provided under certain variable names that was complicating what we were trying to do. And so it's put us back a little bit on the timeline that we were hoping to stick to, but we will have those reports from the Graduate and Professional Student Survey, which is a comprehensive survey that we ran last year. Hopefully some final drafts in the next couple of weeks for those 3 university-wide reports. Sorry, I forgot to attach that. Any questions on that? Otherwise, I'll move on to the report for the Fee Allocation Board. Very well. Back to you, Diana.
Oh, thank you. So this evening, as I mentioned, the Fee Allocation Board, I would thank those that volunteered for that. We met with the Student Communication Organization. Annually, they put out a graduate journal called Kaleidoscope. This is something that they've put out for several years and that GPSC has supported for the past 3. This year, as I mentioned, with the in the past we've ranged from $800 to $1,000 in our ability to give to them. They made a request of $1,500 towards funding the printing of this journal. At this time, based on our current budget, the Fee Allocation Board would like to suggest providing them $800 towards printing, understanding that they have other sources of income that they've made requests for. And so now I just motion that to the floor. As far as any questions regarding this? This is kind of new for some people, so any questions about the $800 or the journal? If you're okay, so I motion that GPSC provides the Student Communication Organization $800 towards the Kaleidoscope journal for printing. Can I get a second? Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Anybody oppose? Oh, sorry, is that?
No.
I was like, whoa, hey, watch out. Anybody abstain? All right, so all in favor. Thank you. I'll be reaching out to them to let them know. Thank you very much. And then as far as, so that then, we have now then spent $800 towards event funding and have processed $1,500 towards travel funding with a few pending. But we have a few more of those coming in. So that is our totals as of now. And that's all for my report. Oh, I did want to mention one thing. I did want to note, though, as you are requesting funds, this year also we're going to be allocating those a little differently. So we're going to be releasing those funds. Like our accountants will hold on to requests for 2 weeks and then release that. So on a 2-week cycle, then they can process those. And that allows us to look at our budgetary balance, because as I mentioned, we're given so much money at the beginning of fall, the beginning of spring, as well as the beginning of summer. So that way we aren't giving out what we don't have. So that way we can wait for those to balance out, and we'll always have an opportunity to just look at that balance and make sure. So it might take a little longer to get some of those refund checks this year. And that's it. Moving on to old business.
Yeah. Okay, old business. We have a second reading of a resolution, 1819 R.001, resolution to amend, second reading of this, which means that I should probably actually read through it. You have a printed copy up there. If you want to take a look at this as we go through it. This resolution is resolution to amend the membership and voting rules in our Constitution, Article 2, Sections 1 and 2 of the Graduate and Professional Student Council Constitution. Resolution for consideration by the Graduate and Professional Student Council on Tuesday, September 18th, is presented for the first reading. Whereas the Graduate and Professional Student Council operates according to its Constitution and bylaws under the privileges and responsibilities granted by the Board of Trustees of Southern Illinois University Charter and by the laws of the State of Illinois. And whereas the Graduate and Professional Student Council is the official representative body of the Graduate and Professional Student Constituency, and whereas the Graduate and Professional Student Constituency consists of all full and part-time graduate and professional students currently enrolled at Southern Illinois University Carbondale, and whereas the Graduate and Professional Student Council exists to provide the opportunity for collective participation by graduate and professional students in promoting educational and professional advancement and the social welfare of the community, and whereas this Constitution establishes governing rules as to voting members of the Graduate and Professional Student Council, and whereas voting members are designated as the official representatives of graduate and professional student constituencies within the Graduate and Professional Student Council are defined as those with privilege to submit and make motion on any topic relevant to the council meeting agenda, and whereas this Constitution restricts voting members to those members who are duly elected or appointed as representatives of an academic department, school, or college, according to Article 2, Section 1, and whereas current language in the Constitution may omit degree-granting graduate programs without department, school, or college unit status, and whereas units of any type may offer and enroll graduate and professional students in multiple graduate and professional degree or certificate programs located within a single unit as it is currently or may be future defined, and whereas current and future potential for restructuring of the university may or will result in the elimination of many constituencies' departmental unit status, and whereas the Graduate and Professional Student Council Constitution and bylaws provide for the amendment by at least a 2/3 affirmative vote of current voting members, and whereas a motion to amend membership rules for the Graduate and Professional Student Council was called and passed during the September 4th, 2018 meeting of the Council, and whereas a motion to submit to the Executive Board of the Graduate and Professional Student Council the successful motion to amend articles of the Constitution was called and passed during the September 4th, 2018 meeting of the Council, and whereas notice of this resolution to amend the Graduate and Professional Student Council Constitution was provided to the Council during the regular meeting for discussion September 18th, 2018, with a vote on the matter following in the meeting of October 2nd, 2018 meeting. Therefore, be it resolved, the following sections of the Graduate and Professional Student Council Constitution approved April 4th, 2017, be amended as follows. Article 2, Section 1. Remove, quote, unit voting members of GPSC shall be restricted to those members who are duly elected or appointed as representatives of an academic department, school, or college or unit, and replace with, quote, voting members of GPSC shall be restricted to those members who are duly elected or appointed as representatives of a graduate degree program or graduate certificate program. Article 2, Section 2, remove all unit voting representatives shall be designated as the official representative from a unit as follows. To replace with, quote, all voting representatives shall be designated as the official representative from a graduate degree program or graduate certificate program as follows. Article 2, Section 2A, remove, quote, if a unit student organization exists, a letter email from the RSO president or similar letter email from the chair of the academic department, school, or college, or to replace with, quote, if a student organization for the program exists, a letter email from the RSO president or similar letter email from the faculty director or administrator of the program, or Article 2, Section 2B, remove, quote, if not, signatures of 10 students or 20% total. If the total is less than 50, then rounded to the lowest whole number from the respective unit. To replace with, quote, if not, signatures of 10 students or 20% of the total. If the total is less than 50, then rounded to the lowest whole number from the respective program.
Just sip of water, you're okay?
All right.
I motion to vote and approve this as is.
Second.
Motion to approve the resolution to amend as written. Seconded. I will call for any opposed to approving motion to amend. There be none opposed. We'll provide that for unanimous. Then, do we have any abstentions? Any questions, concerns? No? All right. Then the motion will pass. Is affirmatively amends the Constitution with those rules for membership. Very good. So, committee persons for standing committees. I did not get that filled out in the email, but as Diana was letting me know at the beginning of this meeting, there's far fewer empty positions than I thought there was. So realistically, I think we'll just move through that, if that's all right.
Can you just say which ones are open and available as of now?
Let's see.
There's only a few, so it won't take very long.
I should be able to. Let's see. We have a few committees that still require someone to fill those positions that we
Just
have.
the one in yellows.
Yeah. We have a committee for commencement planning. We have the computing advisory committee, the financial aid committee, the higher learning commission criterion 5 subcommittee, mass transit advisory board, which that is one in particular that I believe they're trying to have a meeting fairly soon, as well as the HLC criterion 5. They're bothering me for our committee appointment. The Rainbow's End, student affairs advisory, student programming, and the big event, which realistically that doesn't kick off till
Yeah,
late,
they
maybe
are.
fall, early spring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're interested in serving on any of these and have questions, please come see us after tonight's meeting. As he mentioned, we particularly need someone to fill up that which is the Higher Learning Commission, right? Am I saying
Yes.
that? Yeah. So the Higher Learning Commission will look at criteria as we seek accreditation. So that is very important since they are going to be coming to this campus in the spring. So if you're interested, let us know, or in any of those other positions available.
All right. The last order of business before some good of the order, and then a recess before we do the special election for a grad council representative. It's the special election for Vice President of Graduate School Affairs. Like we covered in the beginning of the meeting, the election that was held in the second meeting on September 18th, 2 weeks ago, has not been validated by the Election Commission for misinterpretation, misapplication of the voting rules by the commissioner. And so we will have to do that election again, the voting again. We will do that October 16th, 2 weeks from now, in our regular meeting. Most of you have been here for the reading, discussion of the Vice President for Graduate School Affairs duties and obligations. Do we need to read through those again? Or is there a motion to pass them? I see Brett. No? Motion is it seconded? Second. All in favor, I guess? Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. So that motion passed. So, are there any further nominations for the candidate for Vice President of Graduate School Affairs? Vice President for Graduate School Affairs? The current nominations are Jordan Maddox, Abdul Samad. I'm going to butcher it if I try. How do you pronounce your last name, Abdul? Humaydan? Cool. And, oh God. Yeah, Alex Davenport. Goodness. No additional nominations. I'll close the floor for nominations. Any additional nominations for candidates for the Graduate Council representative if we require an alternate? Diana, do you have the list of those?
I have those
previous
upstairs. I
nominations? Okay.
apologize.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I might have to get those anyways to print them off for voting if are we voting tonight?
Yeah, we have the vote tonight for the vacancy for Amelia's
Okay,
position.
well, I'll go, I mean, I can just go get those since we're going to have to vote.
Yeah, we've got a recess built in for that tonight.
Well, those candidates who knew just ask if there's anybody new. I'll just use the former.
Clay,
Yes.
I would like to withdraw.
From the one we're election later.
Okay. Very well.
And for the alternative, I would like to nominate Andre.
So,
Accept. Is it seconded?
Second.
All right. Well, that's one to add to the alternate. Good deal. Any other nominations for either the Vice President for Graduate School Affairs or any candidates for the Graduate Council representative alternate if required by the election of a candidate for Vice President of Graduate School Affairs? All right, here now, move on to agenda item I, the good of the order. Good of the order, if you haven't been here before or have forgotten, is just an open floor for any questions, discussion, announcements. One of the announcements I had, Brianna's already covered. Insofar, the student trustee is hosting some time for students to come and discuss issues. You have that attached in that email. Yes.
sorry, this Wednesday at the fall school, we are having the former ACLU president, Nadine Strossum, speak on why we should resist hate with free speech, not censorship.
When is that?
It is tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
At 12:20. There will be free books. You just have to be the first 65 people there.
Yeah. So 12. And what location? The room?
It's gonna be at the law school in the auditorium. So just once you enter the law school, just like look above. There'll be directions to the
There's
auditorium.
signs. And
So
Yeah.
first 65. So just get there like an hour ahead of time. Do you want that free book?
That's what I was just like, I don't know. I was informed today by the professor in charge of the
Great,
course.
thank you. That's great.
So,
Thank you. That's pretty cool. Anything else?
Oh, random thought. But also the Superhero 5K, which raises money for 4Kids' Sake. They are also having their race this Saturday. Early registration ends on October 4th. I have put together a team for GPSC and graduate students. If you're interested in joining that, the password's pretty easy. You could just add yourself, and it's just grad 2018. So GRAD 2018. Each registration, I think there might even be a discount right now if you just put SIU 2018, might give you a $10 discount right now. But it's just $20 to register, but each $20 goes to 30 meals to an orphan in Bangladesh. So if you're interested in doing that, get onto 4kidssake.net and register to run. Or walk. I'm going to be walking, pacing myself. It's recess time?
Yeah, almost. Well, we're ahead of schedule, and that's pretty good. So I'll take a brief minute here to say to everybody, I know these past few meetings have been pretty procedural and bureaucratic and not necessarily the most exciting, and I do apologize for that if it's been arduous to be here for that, as well as the confusion, in particular with the special election that we attempted to conduct 2 weeks ago. Do apologize for the errors in conducting that election. And I hope everybody's hanging with us there. We should be getting into some pretty cool stuff here shortly, and looking forward to doing that. But we'll go ahead and move to...
Can I also just note the importance, if you are, now that I'm assuming while I was gone, you explained the issues that we had in our last, special election? I'm assuming based on your conversations.
We went over it.
Okay, great.
As far as
So you now know that if you attended any of the past 3 meetings, including this meeting or the second meeting, if this is your first meeting, you now have the opportunity to vote. So coming to our next meeting on October 16th matters. Because this is a special election, you can also have someone serve as proxy. Do let us know, or make sure that they indicate that as they are putting their name on the roster for that evening. But it is important that you show up and that you vote.
All right. Well, having nothing else on the floor right now, I would move that we adjourn to move to a recess for 10 minutes and reconvene at 8:45. We'll say we'll do however many minutes that is, 12.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll reconvene at 8:45 for the election of a graduate council representative. The motion for that?
Can we have comment on that?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Everybody's down. I'm good to plow through if everybody wants to get through as fast as possible. Yeah.
Second?
I just need to have time to go upstairs, unless people are okay with writing down candidate names. I just need to run upstairs and get those voting ballots for everyone.
Well, I guess.
I don't have to.
Can we do a division of the House for this? Or maybe
Actually, no. I see where you're going with this. We don't have to do a division of the House. I think we can do 2/3 insofar with the withdrawal of Tamika, correct? Johnrika, sorry, yeah. There's only Emily is a candidate for this position. I believe that's what you're getting at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
So potentially,
missed
then,
that,
because
sorry.
the recess is for the ballots,
Okay, gotcha.
right? Yeah. But if we don't require ballots, I believe with only one candidate for the position, we can vote by acclamation.
I second.
We've done that before.
Is that a motion?
Well, what I will require is a motion that is successfully seconded and affirmed to proceed directly to new business. All in favor of proceeding immediately to new business, item L on the agenda, all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstention? All right, motion passes. So we will stay in session. Move to new business, the special election for the vacant graduate council representative seat. Reading of the election rules and position obligations. Oh, man.
motion to waive the reading.
So a motion, is there a second? Seconded, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Are there any further nominations for candidates for the graduate council representative position?
Motion to close nominations.
Motion to close nominations. Do I hear a second? So seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Would you like 2 minutes to speak?
I didn't write one.
Speech.
Oh, that was the other part for the recess. Was just like potentially persons were going to be showing up, not expecting that they were going to be running for something. It's just like give them 10 minutes to prepare two minutes.
All right,
of
time
speech.
it. Make sure you time this.
Sure.
2 minutes.
I also had one from 2 weeks ago, and I just sort of adapted. Are we good?
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
for those of you who do not know me or are confused because I dye my hair every 2 weeks, my name is Emily Vajala. I am a 4th-year PhD student.
This is my second year on GPSC, and it's the third time I've been a candidate for grad council. I ran last spring and barely lost by 1 vote, and I was a candidate to replace Jordan had she been elected 2 weeks ago, which I thought was going to be a thing. I'm recycling that speech a little bit that I wrote from 2 weeks ago. So you know, I've never missed a meeting for GPSC, even when that was a little bit scary. Last year in the spring, it was snowing and icing, and I drove 10 miles per hour down Highway 13 to make sure I'd be here. I was crying a little bit because I was nervous. So I take this position really seriously, and I will do the same on grad council at 8 a.m. on the first Thursday of every month. I go hard for what I believe in, and even when that gets sort of sticky. And if elected, I'll work hard and go hard for graduate students and do my absolute best to represent graduate interests. I would very much appreciate your vote tonight. You won't regret it.
Hey, that's number 2. Good job.
Being that there are no other candidates for the Graduate Council representative seat that has been vacated, there going to be a motion to vote by exclamation, which would require a 2/3 or greater vote. Motion. Is that motion seconded?
Second.
All in favor of voting by exclamation, a 2/3 majority? Any opposed? I'll repeat, any opposed? Any abstention? So, to affirm by exclamation in the order of a 2/3 majority or better. Emily, as the Graduate Council representative to occupy the vacant seat. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstention? Seeing no opposition nor abstention. Congratulations.
Moving along, accomplishing things. It's nice.
We have one agenda item left. Motion to adjourn has been made. Is that motion seconded? So seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none opposed, we are adjourned.